Thanks to textbooks, the internet, and channels like ours, modern people might feel like everything in the world has long been discovered. And if something hasn't, it's just because we haven't watched enough scientific videos. But no, my friends, the world, and especially history, is full of unexplored, mysterious, and sometimes chilling enigmas. Often these mysteries begin with seemingly simple things. Take glasses, for example. What could possibly be unclear about them? Italian monks were the first to craft semicircular polished lenses in the 13th century, which functioned as magnifying glasses. To create these lenses, the monks used a type of quartz known as beryl. This marked the first documented precursor to modern eyeglasses. Even when emerald slices mounted in bronze frames were discovered in Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, scientists weren't particularly shaken. Later, they recalled the so-called Nimrud lens from the Assyrian era of Ashurbanipal, a piece with one flat and one convex side, resembling modern glasses with a single diopter. Sure, perhaps it was just used to start fires, but things got more intriguing when Pliny the Elder's writings described a monocle used by Emperor Nero. This raised eyebrows among archaeologists, especially since the same Pliny also mentioned craftsmen, Callicrates, and Myrmecides, who supposedly created models of ants invisible to the naked eye without special equipment. Researchers started re-examining glass artifacts, which had been sitting in museums for millennia, labeled as earrings, beads, or necklace fragments. The Nimrud lens was ultimately reclassified as a magnifying device, pushing the origins of advanced optics back by a couple of millennia. However, solving this seemingly minor mystery led to the unexpected involvement of Minoan civilization. And that's where things got astonishing. Never mind the Minoan lenses, they seem remarkably precise and predated the Nimrud lens by nearly 1,000 years. One lens wasn't merely a lens. It could reproduce a rainbow, much like the physics textbooks describe. Prisms, for context, didn't come into widespread use until Newton's time. The Minoans undoubtedly used lenses as magnifying tools, as evidenced by a seal crafted around 1500 BCE, just 10 millimeters in diameter. It bore lines so fine that the artisan must have relied on magnification to create it. But as remarkable as the lenses are, let's shift our focus. Besides the lens, the artisan needed tools of exceptional precision. According to archaeological measurements, these tools had a diameter of 6 millimeters and an accuracy of 0.2 millimeters. This aligns perfectly with records stating that Daedalus's nephew, Perdix, invented a caliper with an accuracy of 20 microns. Coincidence or not, this level of precision matches not just the seal, but also the architecture of the Minoan era, which consistently demonstrated astonishing accuracy. And then there are flushing toilets from the 2nd millennium BCE, along with plumbing, sewage systems, observatories, and descriptions of automatic palace doors that open using hydraulics. But the crown jewel has to be the Minoan astronomical calculator, which boasted a 94% accuracy in predicting eclipses and the positions of celestial bodies. It could also precisely calculate the lunar month and even account for leap years. After all, the Minoans were the ones who first organized an early version of the Olympics every 4 years, likely to align with the leap month. Once again, we find ourselves comparing the technological sophistication of this civilization to the era of Newton. Yet unlike the prism example, it's harder to chalk these advancements up to coincidence. This isn't tinfoil hat territory either. Archaeologists largely agree that Minoan plumbing and water systems were at least on par with those of 15th century Europe. Increasingly, experts are suggesting that 3,500 years ago, the Minoans were on the verge of an industrial revolution. And so, a simple mystery about the invention of eyeglasses leads us to a monumental enigma. We've grown accustomed to thinking of history as linear, like a game. First the abacus, then the calculator, then the computer. But the Minoan civilization, which in many ways matched the technology of the 10th century CE, while existing in the 16th century BCE, hints that history might not be so straightforward. But this raises the possibility that other advanced civilizations might have existed in the distant past. Perhaps they too were wiped out by cataclysmic events, like the volcanic eruption that doomed the unfortunate inhabitants of Crete. Speaking of volcanoes, this leads us to our next mystery. Why, after all, did the Neanderthals go extinct? Notice that we're asking why the Neanderthals disappeared, not how. The mechanics of their extinction are less important than understanding the reasons behind it. And that question is a significant challenge, especially since modern research increasingly shows that Neanderthals weren't less intelligent than our ancestors. Humans, of course, are often arrogant. The 19th century claim, well, they went extinct, so they must have been inferior, was not a joke. Back then, skull shapes and skin colors were frequently used to justify such ideas. Given that much of our early knowledge about ancient humans came from that era, the prejudice against Neanderthal intelligence has persisted, at least until recently. Guess who taught our ancestors the technology to soften animal hides? Neanderthals. A 2020 study revealed that they introduced us to a tool called the lissoir, a polished bison or aurochs rib used to rub softening agents into leather. Not just any bone could do the job. Neanderthals knew exactly what they needed. For its time, this tool was a marvel of craftsmanship. Even today, modern leather processing techniques still use the same principle Neanderthals once shared with early Homo sapiens through trade. And they didn't stop there. They used chemistry to ignite fires, understood adhesives, and created modular weapons. In short, Neanderthals were far from unintelligent. Genetically, we're 99% identical. It's peculiar to consider Homo sapiens inherently superior to this parallel branch of humanity. Their disappearance while we thrived is frankly baffling. Enter the Toba supervolcano. About 78,000 years ago, its eruption may have triggered the migration of our ancestors out of Africa, nearly leading to our own extinction. This part is well documented. While it's unclear whether the volcano caused the population bottleneck, it coincided with a dramatic reduction in Homo sapiens numbers, leaving somewhere between 20,000 and as few as 5,000 survivors. Meanwhile, Neanderthals were already living in Europe and didn't go extinct during Toba's aftermath or during other catastrophic events that nearly wiped out our ancestors. They repeatedly survived environmental disasters, and yet they vanished suddenly, defying both history and logic. Humans are almost uniquely monogenic as a species. Even dinosaurs, which dominated Earth for millions of years, had diverse evolutionary branches and competitors. But what about us? One dominant lineage and nothing else. What exactly happened? The details remain speculative. Perhaps Homo sapiens exterminated Neanderthals, or maybe they were assimilated. Either way, the disappearance of Neanderthals remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Our next mystery, as a nod of respect, comes from ancient Rome. When we think of Rome, we often consider its innovations, but mysteries surround it too. Take this, for instance. Strabo, Herodotus, Pliny, Hippocrates, Sophocles, and dozens of other Greek and Roman writers all mention a single herb. And what didn't it do? It seasoned Alexander the Great's meals, soothed sore throats, treated coughs, and was even widely used by Romans as a contraceptive. This herb was so highly prized that at times it was worth its weight in gold. Julius Caesar, to fund the Civil War, withdrew half a ton of this plant from the treasury alongside gold and silver, a deal considered astonishingly lucrative. The plant was called silphium, and it's part of this story because, frankly, we know almost nothing about it with certainty. Silphium, it seems, went extinct. But wouldn't you like to know more? The Romans, with their hygiene practices and advanced battlefield medicine, were no fools. It's unlikely that the brightest minds of the era, whose works modern scholars still scrutinize, would casually exaggerate about a plant that supposedly neutralized scorpion venom. This presents an enigma. Rome's engineering and medical texts are held in high regard, yet these same Romans unanimously praised a plant said to lower fevers and even cure hemorrhoids when applied. Some of the claims about this wonder plant can be partially verified. Oils from related umbelliferous plants, Silphium's surviving cousins, are known to reduce tachycardia and offer other medicinal benefits. But still, the idea of a medical Swiss Army knife strains credibility. From the descriptions, Silphium seemed to embody all curative properties in one plant. Perhaps that's precisely why it was valued so highly, literally worth its weight in gold. Every so often, rumors emerge claiming Silphium has been rediscovered, but they're always proven false. Perhaps one day we'll uncover the truth. For now, though, silphium remains one of history's enduring mysteries. And finally, for some food for thought, the mysterious wheels of the Middle East. Satellite images have revealed massive stone circles that bear a striking resemblance to the Nazca lines. However, scientists agree that these structures belong to entirely different cultures. The sheer amount of labor required to create such monuments is estimated in tens of thousands of man-hours. Yet there are no records of who built them or why. These circles are a kind of silent monument to antiquity, enigmas that defy explanation. No legends, no myths, no concrete data about their creators exist. They stand as silent reminders that in the distant past, there may have been cultures that achieved levels of sophistication we are only beginning to grasp. On this mysterious note, we'll wrap up. If you'd like to explore more historical enigmas, just let me know. There are plenty of questions history has yet to answer. Until next time, friends.